Composition's right, light's right, everything's right. Hi, thanks for joining me. My name's Glenn Samuel and you're watching Sniper Photography. Look, if you're new to photography or just starting out, well then I suggest you hang around for a few minutes, because in this video I'm going to talk to you about 3 components of photography which I believe, if you can get right, you will elevate yourself from the bottom of the ladder and your images will be so much better. And that is composition, light and camera control. Coming up in this week's episode of Sniper Photography. Hi guys, welcome back to Sniper Photography. Look, the 3 aspects of photography which I think is very important that everybody should know that's wanting to improve their photography or how to take their photography to the next level. Those 3 factors or 3 key components are composition, light and camera control. Now these 3 things I would say in photography would be the most important to know or to learn, because without that it doesn't matter what sort of editing program you have in your computer at home, nothing will save a bad photo with horrendous composition or bad lighting. Sorry, it just won't do it. So the next factor of photography is you getting to know these 3 phases. I'll start with composition. Now composition to me is probably the key component of photography. If you get that wrong, well really there's not much around that can save a photograph. You've got to get your composition right. Before you actually take a photo, look around the scene. What's there? What's not there? Are you too high? Are you too low? The rule of thirds is very important. How many times have you seen somebody take a photo of their friend or loved one or whoever the case may be? They're out the front of a monument and they put them right in the middle of the frame. Horrendous. That's just not, well, that's amateurish really. They're not using the rule of thirds because they probably don't know. So composition is everything. How many times have you seen a tree coming out of someone's right shoulder or left shoulder, or a lamp post coming out the back of their head, because the composition hasn't been studied, or the person taking the photo doesn't know what composition is. You've got to look what's within the frame. Now don't be afraid to do that, because, and who cares what people think if they see you doing that? Who cares? That way you can actually see right before you what is and isn't in the frame and what's probably going to distract from the final image. So composition is everything. You have to work on your composition. Work out where you want the subject. Do you want them in the top right hand corner, bottom right hand corner, left, right? Never ever put your subject in the middle. It's horrendous, guys. Don't do it. Get to know your composition. The second one is light and how that affects photography. You've got to know light in photography. I'm not going to talk about flash photography today, that's in another video. But light is everything. You're actually, when you're taking a photo, you're drawing with light. That's what you're doing. You've got to know what light does and what it does to your photography and how that affects. The third concept is camera control, such as ISO and shutter speed and your f-stop. Excuse me. Light is everything in photography. Try and photograph your subject in shade. You don't want direct sunlight on that subject. Middle of the day photography is really difficult, really hard. If you've got no option, well, you've got to know how to use your camera, and that's the third step. But with light, you have to learn light, you have to study light. Light is everything in photography just as much as composition. Work out what the light's doing. I prefer to photograph very early morning or very late in the afternoon what we call the blue hour, where the light is reflecting off the land as the sun's going down. Some of my best images have been taken of late afternoon and early morning. Middle of the day, it's really tough. But if you've got middle of the day happening, well, you've got to know camera control, and that's the third aspect of it. Camera control. Get that camera manual and read it. And when you finish it, I want you to read it again. Grab your camera and start going out and playing with the dials. You've got all these dials and lights and everything on these things, but don't be frightened of it. Guys, this is a magnificent piece of equipment which unfortunately a lot of people don't know how to use. They've got them, they've spent lots of money, but they don't know how to use it. It's like driving a Ferrari and you're only doing 20 kilometers an hour. You know, you're not getting the best out of your equipment. It doesn't matter what sort of camera you've got, or even your phone. Get to know how to use your equipment. Because out of the three components, if you get the first two wrong, composition and light, not so much camera control, you're in a world of hurt really. So concentrate on your composition and your light. But getting back to camera control, try shooting in AV or S on a Nikon, where you can select your aperture according to what sort of depth of field you want. Do you want a blurry background? If you've got a lens that'll go wide open at 1.8. Even if you've got a lens that only goes to 3.5, bring your subject away from the background, and that way you will get a nice blurry background behind your subject. But if you're shooting in AV or S on Nikon, the camera will select the shutter speed according to the light that's going in and hitting your sensor. It might sound complicated, it might sound daunting, but in actual fact it's pretty easy, because if I can do this, anybody can do this, believe you me. But camera control is important, not as important as the first two factors, composition and light, but camera control is everything too. I know lots of people that are frightened of taking their camera off automatic or program. I understand that, and we've all got to start somewhere. But take the leap. These cameras can do marvelous things for you. Sometimes they get it wrong, but 9 times out of 10 they do get it right. Another thing with camera control is exposure compensation. Now, a lot of people don't know what that is. They see it on the back of their camera, but they have no idea as to what it is and what it does and how to manipulate that. So grab your camera once again and go out and start mucking around with it. Just take photo upon photo. While you're doing that, while you're learning to use your camera, work on your composition. Work on your light and your composition while you're learning to use your camera. It'll all come to you in the end. And as I always say, you never ever give up in this. Never ever give up, because it's like an apprenticeship. We'll never finish it. And I've been doing this for many years, and I'm still learning, still make mistakes. But thank God for digital photography. But as I said, the three components that are very important are composition, get that right, light, learn how to work with light and what light does in photography, and camera control. You put those three things together, I think you'll find that your photography will go to the next level. And that's what it's all about. Improvement every time you pick up your camera. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. I'm trying to post more, but I've been very busy with photography work, of course. It's keeping me very busy indeed. But I'll try and post another one on exposure compensation in the next few days, because that is a very important component of the photography. I didn't want to include it in here because I didn't want to confuse people, but stay tuned for that one. So as I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep shooting, and bye for now.